The second thing is the rules and regulations. We've always talked about the rules and regulations being onerous in India, difficult to set up a factory. I don't know what rules and regulations you have to go through to. Maybe this you didn't have to because this was relatively services not hit by all the other
But now we do. Now we have
now
to go
you're
through
bigger,
now.
you have all the rules and regulations. So we have to make it much more business friendly.
Hmm.
And that is a problem. In China, what they did is they had the local government, which wanted to encourage growth because often the local government leader was promoted based on the growth he generated or she
Yeah.
generated. So they changed the rules to make it easier for the local businesses
Hmm.
to actually grow. So that was another thing China did. Third thing China did, which is going to be very hard in our democracy, is they actually suppressed unions. The unions were all departments of the Communist Party, and the Communist Party said, you'll do what we say. They suppressed the unions and they kept wage growth low.
Hmm.
So workers were paid less than their productivity, which of course meant that firms were looking to hire a lot of them, and they grew much faster. Last thing that China did was it kept the exchange rate really low. So Chinese goods were seen as really, really productive. And put all these together, they grew their manufacturing. But who paid the price? The price was paid by the Chinese household because you kept the exchange rate low, so they couldn't buy things. Things were much costlier in China because you had to import some of the goods at high cost. They also didn't pay them enough. So Chinese households didn't make a lot of money. So one of the big disparities between China and other countries is you look at the consumption levels, how much households buy and consume as a fraction of GDP. It's really low.
Really?
So it's much lower than a country at its level of per capita GDP. So I think China right now is about 50% consumption to GDP. India's at around 60-65%. So
interesting.
If you're willing to pay the price, the Chinese model can work. But it also is not, it did some things which is hard to do in India.
Yeah.
It had a higher level of education that we can work on, but it also had much more decentralization of policy. We are a much more centralized country. And maybe that model has something for us to learn from, which is decentralization and more suitable rules and regulations. Don't kill the business with too many rules.
Wait, quick question.